This video is not going to be another video telling you to improve your lighting or audio quality. This video is actually going to help you to understand the psychology for both yourself and your audience to build your influence. And yes, there is absolutely still time to do so. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin, and this channel is all about helping you to become the coolest person you know so that you can do extraordinary things with your life and with your business. And in this video, we're gonna be talking about how to become an influencer in the new year. But like I said in the intro, this isn't gonna be another video that is just going to give you all of the tech tutorials. I feel like that content is all over the internet, and that content is helpful, don't get me wrong. However, I know that there are so many mission-driven potential influencers out there who've watched all the videos on how to create better videos or how to show up more consistently on TikTok, but something is still holding you back from building an audience, and a lot of the time that is the psychology of building influence. And so what we're going to be talking about in this video today is all of the things that you actually need to do when building a brand and creating content that is going to attract your dream audience and help you to build up your social media platform. So if you did enjoy this video, I would very much appreciate it if you gave it a big thumbs up. And also, this video is sort of like a condensed version of a free masterclass that I have that is called Visible, helping you to become the brand that people are actually searching for. So again, this is a longer masterclass that goes into not only the strategy, but the psychology behind actually building visibility as an influencer or as an entrepreneur. So if you would like to download that masterclass, you can do so using the link in the description. So the first thing that you need to do when you are trying to build an audience as a solopreneur or as an aspiring influencer is you need to figure out who the heck you actually are. And what I mean by that is, why is somebody going to follow you? What makes you different? And I know, don't click off the video just yet. I know this is something that you've probably heard before, but how often are you actually sitting down and thinking to yourself, why would somebody follow me? Figuring out exactly who you are and then using that, not just knowing it, but actually using it in your branding and in your content strategy is going to help separate you from everybody else. What are your values? What mission are you on? What type of impact do you want to have on other people? What are your passions? All of these things, when you are super connected to them, is going to help you stop getting so swayed by all of the popular trends. You know, so many people are just trying to either make money on the internet or just trying to build their audience without any true intention behind that. And whilst this can get you so far, what it's going to end up doing is, for the most part, probably leading you to feeling extremely confused about why you're even creating content and building an audience in the first place, as well as probably burnt out because you don't have that passion and mission behind the content that you are creating. So the first thing that you should do before you even start thinking about what camera should I use, or before you even start thinking about which platform you should be on, start thinking about why you want to create content in the first place. If you're strategizing about what is going to be most popular and what is going to help you to grow the fastest, like dancing on TikTok, I guarantee you are essentially selling your soul to the devil. You are going to get to the point where you're like, what the heck am I doing? Why am I doing this? I feel so lost and I'm getting burnt out. But when you're coming from values, mission, passion, and purpose, and your brand is in true alignment with who you are at the core, it's so much easier to be consistent, which is super key when you're building an audience. And it's going to be so much more fun for you to just create content for you and for your audience. Now, the second thing, this is super important. I teach this in so many of my programs. Like, for example, I've got a program, Influencer Vibes, which is all about branding, content strategy, and engagement with your community. But this is honestly the key. When you are building an audience, there needs to be a certain level of relatability and aspiration. It doesn't matter what niche you're in. If you're in fashion, if you're in comedy, if you're in business, and if you're in spirituality, if you're in relationships, there needs to be these two combining, almost seemingly opposite forces in your content and with your brand. Now, specifically if you are an entrepreneur, aspiration is super important, because the reason why somebody's going to follow you and eventually buy from you is that you have expertise or achieved certain results in some specific area. But I got a really good piece of advice from one of my business mentors years ago, and they said, if you want people to follow you, you simply need to lead. And I think a lot of people forget this when they are creating content, or they struggle with this because we have disassociation from our own expertise and achievements, and we have imposter syndrome, and so we don't really highlight the aspirational parts of who we are and what we're trying to do in the world, and that can actually diminish our ability to be seen as a leader from our audience. And so when you're creating content, if people see you as a leader because you have certain results, because you have a certain type of lifestyle, or you have certain abilities, skills, it doesn't always have to be like the money or the results, but like aspiration can be lots of different things. I love Hitomi, I can't say her last name, but she's huge here on YouTube, and I find it aspirational that she spends so much time in nature. Like, it's not always necessarily about the results, but it's about the lifestyle aspects and why would someone look up to you? Like, truly, look at all the creators that have absolutely blown up across all different platforms. There is something about them, whether it's their aesthetic, their style, their body, their lifestyle, their daily routine, the consistency that they have to their habits, their skills, their expertise, their knowledge, the results that they get, but there is something that keeps their audience encapsulated and inspired by, but quite often this is balanced out by the relatability that they have, them being vulnerable, sharing the struggles, them being real, raw, sharing their personality. When you are trying to build an audience, balancing these two things is super important. I talked earlier about how important it is to be consistent. Now, I want to finally clear up the argument. There are two different arguments when it comes to consistency, and it really comes down to the argument of quality over quantity. So many people are talking about the fact that if you want to grow on social media, you must be prioritizing quantity over quality. This does not mean that you can start posting absolute crap to the internet. It should be that you are posting as often as you possibly can for your personal circumstances without sacrificing quality. So if that for you is 3 times a week on Instagram and maybe once every 2 weeks on YouTube, if that's the absolute max that you can do and still maintain putting good things out onto the internet that people actually want to watch, that is so much more important than you just trying to post every single day across multiple different platforms. You should never sacrifice quality in the pursuit of quantity. As you grow and maybe you start hiring different team members, or maybe you just get better in your own processes and systems, sure, you can up the quantity if you want to. But at the end of the day, nothing beats good content. And so making sure that you are prioritizing putting good content out onto the internet is super important. But also you've got to consider that it's super important that you are maintaining consistency. So frequency is going to depend on your circumstances, but consistency is just making sure that you're not doing what most creators do, and that is showing up really intensely for a month and then falling off the face of the planet for another month. You can do that later on when you've got 1 million followers, it doesn't matter. But as you are starting to grow, maintaining a slow and steady pace is super important. However, again, this is not a video on time management tools or coming up with a content plan. I want to help you with the psychology of staying consistent. I recorded a video recently all about your identity and how we actually have an internal blueprint which will determine how we show up in various areas of our life. If you are someone who hasn't reprogrammed yourself to believe that success on social media is possible for you, you will self-sabotage at every point. And the first thing that people generally self-sabotage is their consistency. They have really high expectations, and when they're not met, they get discouraged and they stop showing up because they don't work on believing in themselves. So if you truly want to build influence, you have to reprogram yourself so that the possibility of growing an audience on YouTube or TikTok or building an online business is something that you believe so firmly that your internal blueprint has no other option but to navigate you towards that success. So I definitely recommend going and watching that video if you haven't already. I will leave it linked on the screen somewhere. But reprogramming yourself, and you can do this through forming habits around content creation, reprogramming any limiting beliefs that hold you back from believing that success is possible for you, starting to identify as a content creator. I know that sounds weird, but when you start to see yourself as someone who is a content creator, it's a part of your job, it's a part of your role, it's a part of your life, rather than someone who's just trying it out, you will be able to maintain much more consistency, and that will lead you to different strategies like different time management or content creation strategies. So now this is sort of like a psychology and a strategy tip combined into one, but what so many people do wrong when they're trying to build influence on the internet is they are so hyper-focused on the content and less focused on the community. So many people are complaining about the algorithm, right? They're like, the algorithm is like, it hates me and it's not showing my content. Do you know what the algorithm is driven by? Consumers. What people are choosing to consume is what is driving the algorithm. And so it's not this machine that is working against all of us, trying to make it hard for us for no reason. It's actually what people are choosing to consume that is feeding data into these algorithms that is ultimately determining what is shown back to these people. These social media platforms, all they want to do is keep you and your audience on the platform for as long as possible. Now, when you understand this, it's less about hacking the system and it's more about satisfying the audience. When you know who your audience are, better than they know themselves, when you know their consumer behaviors, when you understand their psychology, when you understand their pattern interruptions, like think about this question. Have you even stopped to ask yourself, what would stop my audience in their tracks? Like, what is going to make them actually stop scrolling and watch a YouTube video or watch an entire reel or read a caption? You need to really focus on your audience and what their behaviors are more than you are focusing on things like trending sounds, more than you're focusing on things like hashtags or, well, all of these things like SEO strategies, they are driven by you understanding your audience. Community is key when it comes to building a huge following in the online space. Think about Emma Chamberlain, for example. She nails the relatability and the aspiration side of things. But I think the thing that she knew more than anything, even more than she knew how to hack YouTube, or even more than she knew how to develop this really aesthetic brand, was she knew how to speak to her audience. When you can truly resonate with the person on the other side of that lens, when you can make them feel something, that is ultimately going to induce action. Like, you want someone to like, to comment, to engage, which ultimately helps the algorithm determine your content is good. It's not about hacking the algorithm, it's about hacking into that person's heart. And I know that sounds corny, but at the end of the day, making people feel something is going to make them take action. So if you're spending more time thinking about the platform and hacking it, or the algorithm, God forbid the algorithm, more than you are understanding who your audience is, what is going to make them engage, what is going to make them enjoy your content, what is going to make them click on it in the first place, and then building your strategy around that, then I promise you, you're probably wasting your time. Building influence is about being able to make people move. It's being able to make people feel something so that they move, so that they take action, so that they do something. And if you truly want to build not only true fans and an engaged community, but possibly even a really successful business, it's all about connecting with the people on the other side of that screen. So yes, learn about the platforms, sure. Don't think about the algorithm so much. Think about the audience. Focus on their psychology, focus on their behaviors, their desires, their goals in life, the way that they speak, and the way that they're gonna feel connected to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a bit different. Again, it's building the psychology of influence, not just the strategy, because the psychology, it leads to the strategy. That is it for me. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to sign up for my free Visible Masterclass. I go into these strategies and more in great depth. I deeply appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.